Elon Musk made a specific calculation in early 2025. He estimated China's artificial intelligence development trailed America's by a mere 6 months. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang pushed that timeline even closer. He told reporters the gap had vanished to nanoseconds, positioning China to win outright. Despite these warnings from the executives actually building the hardware, the prevailing assumption across the West remains that American AI holds an untouchable, permanent monopoly. Welcome back to BitBias.ai. Today, we are putting that assumption to the test through a strict audit of government filings, research reports, and congressional testimony. Make sure to click the link in the description to join our weekly newsletter for the key data and tools you need to stay ahead. Press releases and public sentiment are unreliable indicators of technological progress. To see where this competition is actually heading, we have to ignore the headlines and audit the raw data underlying both nations. On paper, the American computing advantage looks insurmountable. The U.S. hosts 3 massive public exascale supercomputers and controls roughly 48% of the world's top 500 AI compute clusters. On this chart, the publicly reported U.S. lead is on the left, but on the right, China privately runs massive, unreported dark compute. While the U.S. controls the advanced chip supply bottleneck, China is bypassing it by planning nuclear and space-based data centers. Relying on hardware embargoes to maintain a lead assumes the opponent will stop building. Instead, China is using hidden infrastructure and immense state willpower to brute force format around restricted hardware. When it comes to building the AI models themselves, the U.S. maintains an undeniable volume advantage. In 2024, American teams produced 40 notable flagship models, compared to China's 15. Then, a relatively unknown Chinese startup called DeepSeek released a model named R1. It matched the performance of top Western models like GPT-4, but required only a fraction of the computing power to build. Simultaneously, Alibaba released its Qwen models. Those open weights models have now spawned more derivative iterations on the global platform Hugging Face than any other AI in the world. This is a deliberate ecosystem strategy. Rather than pouring billions into a single, massive, general-purpose oracle, Chinese developers are flooding the global market with smaller, highly efficient, task-specific tools. And the academic momentum is shifting alongside the commercial output. Chinese institutions now hold 7 of the top 10 spots globally for AI research publications, surpassing the US in the sheer volume of papers and patents. Scarcity turned into a competitive advantage for them. By focusing on algorithmic efficiency rather than raw power, Chinese labs achieved frontier-level performance while using far fewer chips than their American counterparts. Algorithms require massive training material to function effectively. With 1.44 billion citizens integrated into smart cities and the Internet of Things, the Chinese state collects this immense flow of information. They treat it as a unified national asset, providing an enormous data advantage. This chart compares graduate output. China produces roughly 2 million STEM bachelor's degrees annually against America's 900,000, and graduates 51,000 PhDs. This happens precisely as a Nature poll indicates 75% of U.S. researchers have considered moving abroad. America's model relies on competing for a finite pool of global talent. China's model focuses on sheer volume, utilizing a state-directed education system to produce a massive, consistent flow of domestic engineers. The American private sector holds a massive 12-to-1 funding advantage, raising $109 billion in 2024 to China's $9 billion. However, China counters that with a $60 billion state-backed AI investment fund deployed with strict cross-ministerial coordination. This capital dynamic has triggered intense concern behind closed doors. When American tech executives testify before Congress, the optimistic tone of their press releases disappears entirely. Microsoft President Brad Smith recently issued a blunt warning directly to the Senate. He testified the U.S. risks losing global AI dominance exactly like it nearly lost telecom infrastructure to Huawei by failing to drive global adoption. OpenAI's Sam Altman and Nvidia's Jensen Huang echoed this exact same sentiment. They argued that isolating China with export controls threatens to sever America from half the world's developer base, crippling the U.S. industry's long-term reach. These executives recognize a hard reality. Billions in venture capital cannot force the world to use your software. If fragmented U.S. policies alienate the international developer community, Chinese AI will quietly become the default global standard. Between 2023 and early 2026, the technology landscape compressed dramatically. What looked like a comfortable U.S. lead devolved into a neck-and-neck global deployment sprint across emerging economies in Asia, Latin America, and Africa. The shift is already tangible inside America's own borders. Right now, nearly 80% of U.S. AI startups are reportedly integrating Chinese open-source models into their products simply because they cost less. The implications extend far beyond software budgets. By the April 2026 U.S.-China Military Summit, the competitive focus had officially shifted to the integration of intelligent systems into combat doctrine. At that summit, both global powers explicitly refused to sign any voluntary limits on the use of artificial intelligence in autonomous warfare, drone swarms, or cyber systems. This competition has expanded beyond the commercial success of chatbots. Both nations are now racing to install the digital concrete of the next century, building the infrastructure for global trade and the systems that will govern autonomous combat. The competition comes down to two incompatible structural models. America thrives on open research, massive private capital, and global democratic alliances, while China leverages aggressive state direction, immense scale, and hyper-efficient deployment. American AI dominance is no longer a given. The data suggests a long, grinding competition, where structural advantages on both sides prevent either nation from achieving a quick or total lead. This geopolitical shift will directly dictate global job markets, rewrite privacy norms, and define the software we use daily. Who do you think has the real long-term edge in this environment? Let us know in the comments below. And if you value this kind of raw, data-driven breakdown, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next one.